Yo, MLB Data Warehouse podcast. John's here. Special episode. Not exactly draft prep with me and Tim and everything going on. We got Derek Carty. You know him, not really needing an introduction, but creator of the Bad X projection systems and much more. Derek, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's a little. Do you have any lull? I mean, you get pretty into the football stuff as well, like, and then baseball ramps up, and you're kind of are you playing? Are you scrambling to get ready, or what's your like yearly schedule like?
Yeah, there's really no lull for me.
Yeah.
Football starts winding down, and then it's time to start getting ready for baseball, especially with we're going to get into it later, but I've built some upgrades and whatnot for the bat, so that took up a lot of time this off season. So there's really no downtime, as it were.
That was the main thing that I reached out to you about because it's not quite the first topic because there is pressing things we must cover first. But the Bat X pitcher projections are out, and like I haven't talked to you in a couple of years. We've done a couple podcasts together, but even a couple of years ago, it was like the Bat X pitcher projections are coming. And it seems like a long time in the making, but they're here now. So we want to learn about that. Well, all right, we'll just stop right there. A lot to say, but first of all, of course, you and I have now become brothers in the clan of getting flamed by Reds fans because we underprojected their players, or in their view, underprojected. So back for me, it was 2022 or 2023 when Ellie was coming up, and I had my daily projection model, which was rudimentary or so at the time, but it said this Ellie guy is going to strike out a lot and hit a lot of ground balls and not be that great. And I tweeted that. I gave like the skill projection of Ellie De La Cruz. And that was one of my first times just like having thousands of people yelling at me. So that was fun. But you went through that because you didn't love the Reds pitchers projection. So how do you feel about that? Will you ever be able to show your face in Cincinnati again? And what was that like?
Yeah, that was rough, especially because I kind of misspoke on it. Like I said that the Red pitching staff was bad when actually they project really well. But Reds fans were not happy about that. Stuck to my guns on Andrew Abbott, who I just do not believe in whatsoever. And Reds fans are really not happy when you tell them that a guy who's had like a 3 ERA over the last 3 years is actually a average pitcher or below average pitcher. They get mad when you say that.
It is like, it's like, how many times does a guy have to beat his Sierra by a run before you start believing it? And the answer with you is probably like 12 years, something ridiculous, right? Like,
I mean, the answer is whenever the projections start to believe in the guy, and they don't. And it's not just mine; it's everybody's. I mean, I think the Bad X is the low man on him, but like you look at Fangraphs or you look at I'm assuming your projections too. Like nobody thinks this guy is like actually that good.
Yeah. So everybody wants to believe their guy is like the guy that breaks the rules and stuff, but it doesn't really happen. And same with like reverse splits. Do you believe in reverse splits? Is that even a real thing in terms of, maybe it is in terms of pitchers? Because
for pitchers, yeah.
But hitters, no.
For hitters, no. At least the data that we have at this point tells us that hitter splits are too noisy to really believe in reverse splits unless we have like a real reason to expect it to be a thing. And I think we're maybe getting closer to a point where we can maybe start identifying if guys are like with the new, like all the new like StatCast, like bat tilt data and like that kind of stuff. I think will wind up being useful for figuring out platoon splits stuff. But for the most part, no, reverse splits are not a real thing for hitters.
Yeah. And like people will hear that. I would suppose that most people that clicked this podcast are interested in projections and are somewhat like well-versed in how they work, but a lot of people, maybe some people out there that aren't as familiar, aren't thinking analytically like you and I, which there's still plenty of those guys, like the old-timer baseball fans who don't really want to hear the numbers, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's total preference, but they might say, what do you mean? Like, fill in the blank, hit this against righties and this, he had reverse splits last year. Like they exist. We're just saying that if you play out 1,000 more plate appearances, they'll go away.
Right. Exactly. They exist in the sense that it's happened.
Yeah.
But you can't use what's happened to predict what will happen next very well at all when it comes to platoon splits, especially for hitters. Like there's just so much noise in them that you will be more accurate assuming that they're not reverse splits than assuming that the reverse splits are going to continue.
I think you taught me that lesson like we talked years ago. I think I had initially been looking like for the daily projections to see like how's this guy do against lefties, and basically you told me no, start with like the average split, and then you can adjust a little bit up or down, but not much. So you kind of stick to that. And that's because I think the league,
that's a good rule of thumb.
like the league leader in plate appearances against lefties last year was like 200 some. Like the most sample you can get in a single year against the left-handed pitcher is not even enough to really use. So it gets really hard. Yeah. And then by the time you have a big sample, like 3-4 years, all of a sudden hitters aren't the same 3 years apart, right? Like you're not the same guy. So you're not even comparing the same dude anymore. So that's it. Well, that'll be that's kind of the interest of this podcast, just to talk about the projection, the way to view things, a little bit of the math. But first, of course, it was so funny. Jordan Rosenblum said just the other day, I should have pulled his tweet, but I can't wait till Derek Carty's Connor Griffin tweet hit. And I don't even know if you saw that, but it hit today. The absolute, let's get this. It's covering up the banner. That's okay. So every year, it was Jordan Walker at first. There we go. Years ago, and you were proven perfectly right on that. But every year, the crowds get way too excited. And whatever, we're talking short term. Projection guys we're always looking at the immediate future, if not, 6 months out, maybe at the most. We're not talking about what
we're not talking about this guy's like, future value in 5 years, or, we're talking about this season for fantasy.
Yeah. We're either playing at most, we're talking about the next 6 months, the one season. And then at the granular level, the stuff that you really do once the season gets going, DFS betting, like we're trying to figure out what they're likely to do today, and not that. So I don't remember who the example was last year, but it's just like every year the top prospect in baseball, spring starts, it hits a home run and people get excited. And you did come out and you say he's a generational talent. The only defect, it's the Moneyball meme here. Billy, this is Connor Griffin. He's a generational talent, 60 grade power, 70 grade speed. His only defect is he's a rookie, and rookies are bad picks because, of course, the ADP is blowing up and all the hype is just going to keep going and going and going. And I suppose there is a chance he gets up. What is projecting Connor Griffin like? What are the problems with projecting rookies? Why do they seem to? I mean, I don't know. They seem to struggle. I guess that's an easier question to answer because it's just hard. It's really hard to go to the major leagues. But anything particular about Griffin that you think might make a transition a little bit tougher, or anything like that? What did you find in trying to figure out how to project Griffin?
Yeah, I mean, just projecting rookies in general, like people are always upset that rookies don't project as well as you want them to, because you get all this hype from the scouts and from the media, and you're like expecting this guy to come in and be a star right away. And then the projection's like, well, he's going to be a below average hitter. And you're like, well, what the hell? The problem is that like, there's so much variance in translating minor league stats to major league stats that it's hard to know who's going to be really good and who's not going to be. And even when you look at the top prospects, like a lot of them, they don't wind up being very good. Some of them wind up being, Ronald Acuna or Fernando Tatis, or like people still remind me about, when I said that they were not going to be that good their rookie years, which was totally off base because they were great. But then people forget about, the Jared Kelenic and the, Jordan Walkers, and like for every guy that turns into like a really good guy right away, there's like 3 or 4 that are busts. And so a projection is just basically a weighted average of all possible outcomes. And when you look at all the possible outcomes for a rookie, a lot of them are, this guy's not very good right away. So that's where it comes down to. Griffin actually does project like fairly, by rookie standards, he projects really well. If he got a full year, he projects for like close to 20 projections. Yeah, like 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, something like that. Griffin certainly could be a thing. But at the price that he's ultimately probably going to wind up going, I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of interest.
Yeah, and that's the key, of course, the price. He's going to be he's probably going to be a top 13, top 12 shortstop pick when things are going. And like you're at that point, you're basically needing him to be on the team in April, and you're basically needing him to be near the top of expectations. So the Bat X 600 plate appearance projections. So this is extrapolated. I kind of like to do this with the young guys just to see, because we don't really know how many plate appearances he'll get. So yeah, you're actually one of the more positive ones. 256 average, 16 homers, 24 steals. That's a really aggressive like rookie projection. And I suppose it's because you have these like advanced inputs into this, right? Not bat speed necessarily, but like EVs and speed and all this stuff.
I don't use that at the minor league level yet. So this is just purely based on like minor league surface stats with adjustments and park factors and that kind of stuff. But none of the advanced StatCast stuff is in there for the rookies.
And that might be the better way to go anyway. You never know. And I mean, his like box score stats are about as good as they can be anyway. Like he probably won't even do, even if he's in AAA, like he probably wouldn't do as well as he did last year anyway. Like just we always underestimate regression. And yeah, like your point, people always it's a psychological bias, right? The survivorship bias or something like that, where you remember the guys that disprove the rule, but the ones that prove the rule, of course you don't remember them because you haven't heard their name in years. So
yeah, people are very unaware of their cognitive biases, even though they are very real.
Yeah. All right, so that's Connor Griffin. I mean, I'm a Pirates guy, so I'm hoping for the best, but I still can't take the guy in the top 150 for a redraft league. And I even looked up, like he does comp pretty well to Ellie, like a big shortstop with speed and power, with maybe more speed than power, at least initially. And Ellie, and this is what you'll get from the fantasy people, the categories leagues fantasy guys, like Ellie wasn't great. He had an 85 weighted runs created plus in that rookie year. He came up in June, so it was like half a year. So it wasn't good as like a player overall, as a hitter overall, but the steals, he stole so many bases, and maybe Griffin can do that, and maybe he'll pay off his fantasy value like that. So I don't know. It probably can't go super horribly for him, but always fun to see who you're picking on early on. Are there any more of those coming out? Like any particular team or player that you're going to dump on that we can get a sneak peek of?
Nothing planned at the moment, but you never know how the month is going to go. Spring training is still young.
Yeah. Do you have any idea because Griffin's never been to AAA, do you have any thoughts on maybe this is a question more for like a more scouting guy, but I'm wondering, like, if Griffin's going to struggle, will going to AAA for a month reduce that MLB struggle, or should they just let him struggle in the majors? Like, do you have any idea? Is it worth, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I do. I don't have any data on it.
Yeah.
Intuitively, I would think going to AAA helps. You get to work on things in a lower pressure environment. You get to actually focus on whatever skills, they think he needs to work on, as opposed to at the major league level where it's like, I have to just be producing right away. So
right.
I do think there's probably something to being in AAA, but I have not looked at any data about it. Yeah. What I have looked at data at is guys who have lots of experience at a level. So like, let's say a guy's been at AAA for like 3 or 4 years, like his numbers will not translate to the major league level quite as well as a guy who's only been at AAA and had the exact same numbers for like 1 year. So I think kind of using that as a reference point, I think we can kind of say that like you do gain something from being in AAA.
But if you're in AAA for 4 years, that tells you something about what the team thinks of you anyway. So you're right. You're probably just not good. But
yeah,
all right.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's tough. Numbers at least are 1 + 1 is 2. Like, but there's still all these other considerations and stuff that you really have to. It takes a long time to get your mind to think of it right. The Bat X pitcher projections, they're here. So 2016, we started getting more of this pitch movement, exit velocity, all the motion of the baseball stuff. The baseball moves in 3-dimensional space, and they started capturing all of that. So you got the Bat X hitter projections up on that stuff a while ago. That's nothing new. But this will be the first year for the Bat X pitcher projections. So the question is, what is the difference? Give us however much of the formula as you can. Like, how are these different? What StatCast stuff does it take in? And then I also want to ask about the BatCast pitcher modeling stuff. But first, how are the Bat X pitcher projections different than the normal bat?
Yeah, so it's all kind of tied together. So like it starts with the Batcast modeling stuff, which is I'm looking at it's essentially like a Stuff Plus model. Like my own version of Stuff Plus is essentially what I've come up with, where I look at every individual pitch and you look at the velocity on the pitch, the movement on the pitch, the spin. You look at seam shifted wake. You look at pitch mirroring. You look at, I did a bunch of stuff with tunneling and with bridge pitches, which I think is really cool. And I don't think any of the other stuff models are doing right now. And essentially you come up with a grade for every pitch to say, okay, this pitch is this good. This, guy's fastball is this good. This guy's curveball is this good. And once you do that, you can essentially measure how good everyone's stuff is. This guy, Chase Burns is an example. He's one of these rookies that like otherwise maybe wouldn't project like super, super well. He did come up and was good in the majors this year. But I know like my betting model last year, every time Chase Burns would take the mound, it was like, bet the under on his strikeouts, bet the under on his strikeouts. And I stopped doing it at some point because I'm like, he's better than this. We know he's better than this. But the stuff component wasn't in there yet. Now the stuff component is in there and we can say, okay, Chase Burns has ridiculous stuff to the point where he might just be one of the best pitchers in baseball, like right now. So that's kind of where it comes from. That's the.
Is it only based on the movement of the pitch, not locations or results from the
not
hitters?
Locations or results, just the physical characteristics of the pitch. And as much as I can, I've tried to tease out because there are certain pieces of data that can like give away the location of the pitch or whatever. So like I've tried to tease that out as much as I can so that it's really just looking at just the stuff component.
And the grade is based on, for people that don't know how Stuff Plus works, correct me if I'm wrong at all, but basically it looks at the past. It says these pitches move like this. And then it actually, when it's training the model, it does look at the result. Like when a pitch moves like this, the hitter whiffs about this percent of the time. The expected WOBA is about this. They hit a home run this rate. So then it takes that and then it looks at pitches in the future or as they come in and look at the movement and say, okay, this based on this movement with totally ignorant to what actually happened to the pitch, we would have expected a whiff this percent of the time, and then you pile up like that. So
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. So it has some downfalls in that Joe Boyle has high Stuff Plus, right? But he's not throwing it in the strike zone and he'll grade out pretty well. So it's still useful. But people just have to be educated to know, like, you can have high Stuff Plus and still be a bad pitcher if you don't command it or if you're tipping.
Yeah, I mean, stuff is only one component of pitching. I think it's probably the most important component, but it's still just one component. Command is important. Pitchability is important. Sequencing, all this kind of stuff that something like Stuff Plus isn't even attempting to measure. So I think it gives us a leg up on just using surface stats, but it's certainly not like the end all be all, final answer.
Yeah. And you said tunneling and sequencing. That would have been, I guess, tunneling. I could imagine how to code that because it's just based on release points, more or less.
Yeah. So the way I kind of looked at tunneling without getting too deep into it is like looking at the exact path of the ball through space from the pitcher's hand to home plate and looking at how that compares to other pitches in his arsenal at various points created a whole bunch of different variables based off of the flight paths and how hidden a pitch is and at what point does it divert and like all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of fun coming up with that stuff. And I do think it made a pretty significant difference in the final results. So I'm very happy with it.
So it'd be like how far two pitches move follow the same path. If a sinker and a four seamer follow the same path for, I don't even know what, like 20 feet, that would be, is that the measure basically, like how far they follow the same path?
Yeah, I did it in with time instead of distance. Okay. But yeah, you can do it with distance too.
Is that data all in the publicly available, or do you have extra?
It's all publicly available, but you have to run a whole bunch of like physics equations and like create a bunch of it on your own. Like it's not like they just give this data to you. You have to kind of like work with it and compile it. And
so your physics, do you know the physics stuff? I mean, it's not anybody can be a coder these days, which kind of might put us out of business, but with AI can do it all. But you kind of knew a lot of this stuff. You've been doing this for a long time.
I've been trying to do this for like 9 years. So yeah. I don't have like a background in physics. I'm not a real physics guy, but I've learned enough of it over time because I need to for this. And there's a great physicist. His name's Dr. Alan Nathan. He's like the leading baseball physicist in the world. And he's always really responsive and really helpful. And I owe a lot to him with this stuff. Cool.
All right. So the topic of the day, then, the people just want to know which pitchers to upgrade or downgrade, because this is now the Bat X pitcher is, it sounds like the most advanced. You could say, we'll see. I have on the sheet, I have a question. Are they better than the Bat? What a stupid question. How we don't know yet, right? We have to see.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, based on all the back tests I've done, the back tests of the new system came out really well. Okay. So I would expect it to be better, but it's brand new. This is kind of the first time it's going to be battle tested this year. So we'll see. But yeah, I would expect it to be.
And this will be the model in the Bat X daily projections.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So no more.
And then hopefully in season, like we'll be able to. I'm trying to think like Christopher Sanchez last year, like coming into the year, like Christopher Sanchez projected like okay, and then he really improved his stuff last year. And so if you're just looking at the surface stats, you're maybe not going to pick up on him being a different guy or a better guy as quickly. But now if you're looking at the stuff and you can say, okay, well, last year his stuff was this good and this year his stuff is this good. Now you can project him up here like right away because the stuff is so stable. So I think that'll be really cool in season, being able to, identify real changes in talent and make really quick adjustments to it. Okay, great. Have you run any of this for spring data yet? Because we have it all. I have not looked at any spring data. I saw you had a good tweet out. I think it was earlier today about spring training velocity increases and how sticky it is. And I've had some people ask me if I'm using spring data, and I'm not, because I think there's so many questions with it. One of them is, how sticky is this stuff? And it turns out like it's basically not, because I looked at, there was like 20 some starting pitchers that we would have been interested in last year, like 20 starting pitchers, fantasy relevant, not even fantasy relevant, but like big league starters, and that they increased by at least a mile per hour on a fastball, and only half of them stuck in the regular season. So at that point, you're going to get, I don't know, like you're flipping a coin for every guy you think. So it's not worth it. That was disappointing for me. Anyway, we'll see. Especially like because Richard Fitz is doing that right now, but he did it last year too, and it didn't stick, and he was terrible. So let's look at some of these pitchers that, if I can get this a little bit bigger. So these are the notable pitchers. You tweeted this out. So the notable pitchers who project worse after adding in the stuff. So we got Brad Lord, not a surprise there. Nick Lodolo. Let's talk about Nick Lodolo there, because immediately in my head, tall lefties, right? Can tall lefties with weird release points or uncommon release points, like, do they make up a little bit of their stuff? This isn't a super lefty heavy list though. So any thoughts on that, or do you know what it is about Lodolo? I haven't had enough time to really go in and look and see if there are like certain categories of guys that the system is maybe biased against. Like I know for a while, like everyone said, Stuff Plus was biased against lefties. And I think they've gone in since then and tried to correct that. As far as I know, there's no biases like that in here, but there always could be, especially guys with, weird release points or weird deception. Like that's not always going to be able to be captured by a metric like this, depending on the type of deception that it is. Like I said, if it's tunneling deception, that should be in there. But if it's like, the guy makes his hand look weird, so you can't see it coming out of his hand really well, or whatever, like that's an entirely different thing. On the ball or something. Like Tyler Rogers, I never understood how anybody could even how does Tyler Rogers, the submarine guy, even have a Stuff Plus score? How could, there's nothing to compare it to, right? He's the only one releasing the ball from down there. I never understood that.
You do what you can, I guess.
I mean, yeah, you do what you can. Ideally, you're making adjustments for things like arm angle, which I do in mine. Like,
but you have to have previous people to study.
You need to have previous people. Yeah. So at a certain point, it can break down. I mean, it's not like we've never had submarine pitchers before, but maybe to the extent that he is, maybe not as much. But so occasionally you have to make some generalizations, or I guess the model has to make some generalizations. But
and who cares about relievers anyway? We're not here to talk about relievers. I have a release point scatter plot on my Tableau dashboard that shows all the release points and X, Y, and then the Tyler Rogers dude like just completely wrecks the axis because it has to like drop the whole way down to get his below the X axis or whatever. Nick Martinez, Herman Marquez, Brandon Woodruff, JP Sears, Jeff Springs, Sandy Alcantara, Joey Cantillo, Matt Boyd, Michael Lorenzen, Joe Ryan, Michael Waka, Tanner Gordon, Bailey Ober, Logan Allen, Luis Castillo, Mike Soroka, and Tanner Bybee. Those are guys that got a ERA reduction, meaning bad. I guess the ERA went up after adding this. So I would take this into account. I would not ignore this stuff. None of these guys, very few of them are like kind of top 100 starting pitchers. Bybee, Ryan,
Woodruff,
Alcantara,
Luis Castillo, maybe.
Woodruff's gonna fall now. He's hurt. No surprise there. But okay, then let's go to the likes. These are the guys that came up. Richard Fitz. So that's interesting because he's always been a dude with a fastball that grades out really well, even in results. Like I focus more on the actual results, not like did he give up a double, but like did he get a swinging strike? Did he earn a strike? Those kind of pitch level results. And he's always looked really good there. And he's looked, he's got one start in the spring, so we shouldn't really react. But I don't know. I think he's a little bit sneaky there too. Chase Burns here, Braxton Ashcraft. So we got to talk about him a little bit. I know you didn't dive into individual pitchers or anything like that, but do you have any like anything you've noticed about Ashcraft, or would you draft him this year? Because he's an interesting one.
Yeah, I like Ashcraft this year. I know the system really likes him. He's a guy that I think has plenty of upside beyond where you're going to take him at. And so if you're taking him late in the draft, I think you're probably getting somebody that's either, really good or could be really good. So I like Ashcraft a lot. I'm looking at his profile right here that I have for him. Pretty much all of his pitches grade out well. The curveball and the slider both look really good. The sinker, which he doesn't throw that often, grades out really well. Obviously, he throws pretty hard. The fastball it doesn't love, but a lot of times the fastball just serves to make the secondary stuff look better. So Ashcraft's a guy I like a lot.
Will it build in so when we get to the fourth day of the season or whatever, and Ashcraft's about to make a start, will your daily projection look at the fact that a lot of his data came out of relief, meaning shorter outings where you can go a little bit more exertion? Does it reduce at all for that?
Right now, I have a very basically it looks at starting data and relief data completely separately.
Yeah, good.
So going into Ashcraft's starting pitcher projection is only stuff that we've seen from him as a starting pitcher. Yeah. Eventually, I'd like to make, I'm sure you can look at the relief data and you can make adjustments and like that kind of stuff, to build your sample higher and whatnot. But when it comes to stuff, you don't really need a sample that's that huge anyway. And I think it's more apples to apples to just look at, as a starter, this is what he did. And as a starter, his stuff grades out really well.
Yeah. Yeah. Some dudes don't, because you typically see a guy going from relief to starter, the velo will come down. And I would assume that the stuff plus comes down a little bit too, but it's not 100%. Some guys, they'll let it all go. So Will Warren here, Dylan Cease as well. So you're a Dylan Cease fan. Maybe he needs a changeup still though, right? Anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Cease is funny because there are so many people that try to tell me that Dylan Cease is terrible based on his ERA or whatever the last couple of years. And it's like, just give me a break. Like ERA doesn't matter, people. Like it doesn't. Yes. Like his underlying metrics are good. Whether even just his basic, strikeout, walk rate, XFIP type stuff is great. And his stuff, is really, really good. So yeah, I'm a big Dylan Cease fan. I like him a lot. I think the ERA is going to see pretty big. I don't know what the right word is. I guess it's going to get a lot better this year. I like Dylan Cease. Like you said, could use a changeup probably. He threw one last year, just a fraction of the time. It didn't grade out very well.
But
So
this
if
stuff's
he could figure something like
incorporated
that.
because the
What's
one
that?
has it. I liked him too, and then I saw that he kind of doesn't do anything differently against lefties. But at the same time, lefties didn't hit him that hard last year either. But you said some of that stuff is baked into this anyway. Like, so that's good. So we don't have to really. You don't want to double count stuff, right? If it's already in the model, then
Right.
you stop talking
Yeah.
about
So
it.
this should be accounting for, because the model, the way I modeled it out, like it should be accounting for, okay, he does this against lefties, he does this against righties. If he has a different approach to one or the other, it should capture that. If he doesn't have a different approach, it'll capture that too. And it still really likes Cease.
So that's a 3.37 projected ERA for Cease. That would be a smash. That would make him, if he gets his typical volume, which is the main reason to like him, is the strikeouts and the volume. Like he has good volume and a good strikeout rate. He's not like a Logan Webb that gets the 200 strikeouts because he throws 210 innings. He's like 180, 190 innings with a 28, 29% K rate. So it's gone but south in the past. I have looked at him a lot. Like two of these last 3 years, he's had a bad ERA, but it's come with super high BABIPs, and that's not always a thing for him. It's not like a common thing. So I'm in on that too. Some other guys on the list that got better ERAs in the BATX projections versus the BATX original model: Max Meyer, Hunter Green, Emmett Sheehan. That's interesting. We like Sheehan here as well. Framber Valdez with the big curveball, Nick Pivetta, David Peterson, Ronaldo Lopez, Zebby Matthews, Jacob Misiorowski. That's not a surprise because that dude's fastball, my goodness. I mean, the league leading extension, or at least right up there, plus actual velo. Like that dude's effective velo on his fastball is like 101.5 miles an hour or something.
It's crazy. Yeah. But I mean, these are names that you would expect to see. Like,
yeah,
I think it kind of validates it a little bit. Like, even if I hadn't run all the back tests and everything, like, I think it passes the eye test. Like, these are guys that we would expect to get better when you account for their stuff, like Misiorowski and Ashcraft and Chase Burns and Zebby Matthews and, Ryan Weathers. I feel like everyone's talking about right now because his stuff is looking really good in spring, I guess. And this, it improved last year as well. So, like, the list is mostly guys that, like, you would expect on a list like this, which I think is good.
Yeah. Yep. If Misiorowski can throw, man, I mean, imagine if he has a 9% walk rate or something this year. Like, he does not need to have a good walk rate, but the worry coming up was like he might be 12, 13%, might be like a Joe Boyle, but the ball rate last year, he showed a lot of good signs last year. So he's one of my like super heavy targets this year. I really like him. Sonny Gray, Kevin Gaussman, Jacob deGrom, Parker Messick, Ryan Weathers, Blake Snell, round that out. And it's on Fangraphs all now. So you can all go grab all this yourself, right?
Yeah. So the BATX is on Fangraphs. Eventually, I know they're in the process of working on getting the actual backcast stuff metrics up there, kind of like they have Stuff Plus. That's not there yet, but that I'm told that will be there at some point, which I'm excited about.
Will it update in the season?
Yep, it should update in season. It's a ton of data to be working with, so it hasn't been like in season battle tested yet in terms of like speed and like making sure that everything runs smoothly. So I have my fingers crossed on that. I'm trying to run some tests the next couple of weeks to make sure it's all going to work well, but theoretically it should.
Do you just like upload CSV files and then Fangraphs grabs them and puts them in their website, or? You don't have to say whatever.
No, I'm actually not entirely sure. I have like a small team that I work with that handles a lot of that type of stuff. So I think they have it set up somehow. I don't know if it's a CSV or what, where we put it out there and Fangraphs gets it and then they put it on their site.
I don't think people are too concerned, but all right. Couple more things. I'm throwing this at you late. This wasn't on the original sheet, but I've just been so like flummoxed with park factors. We'll forget the PNC Park thing because that's total speculation, but something's going on in Globe Life Park the last 3 years, but especially the last 2. That's the Rangers home park. Just the ball stopped flying there and no park changes were made. I don't think I looked like quickly, like, did we have 2 really relatively cold summers in Dallas, Arlington or something? And that wasn't the case. Just like, I'm sure you were aware of this doing daily projections and seeing that, and your daily model adjusts for all of it. You were probably way ahead of me on it. But do you have any idea? You think it's humidor related? Just like the ball completely seems like it's dead in Texas.
It's so tough to know because
Yeah.
as much as we can quantify certain things about a park, there's so many things that we can't. The speculation that I've heard about Globe Life is, I guess, similar to what we heard years ago when it was Globe Life Park, when it was like the old version of the stadium before they built the new one, where they talk about like a wind tunnel, where like if you open up the behind home plate, like open up those windows or whatever's behind there, like the wind will come in and it'll impact the ball, it'll push it out further or whatever it does. So I heard it. I heard, I forget where it was from. Somebody speculated earlier this offseason that's what was going on in Globe Life this year, was something with the wind patterns where some part of the park was open that hadn't been before.
Right.
Or was closed that hadn't been before, or something like that.
Because of something physically changing in the park that wouldn't be like in the
but not like something that we can measure, like fence distance or something
right.
like actually like part of the structure of the
and then so on the screen is and I agree, like we really shouldn't react, because I get frustrated when people before last year, right, all you heard with the Mariners is that's a really tough place to hit. That's a pitcher's park like no other. And then Cal Raleigh hits 65 homers and all is well, right? Like, and I don't know. So it's really hard to measure park factors and stuff. But with Texas, so I'm not doing this every year. I'm not looking at this and adjusting park factors every year. Like, if they didn't change anything, leave it alone, right? And if they come out, if it's Kauffman Stadium, they move the fences in, fine, make your adjustments. But when you see something like this with like, so I looked at all the balls hit in the air for the last 5 years by both teams in Texas. Ideally, you would want to just do road hitters so you don't get the home hitter like bias.
Right.
But that cuts the sample in half. So I just did this for all hitters. But the air, so the slugging percentage on balls hit in the air last 5 years in Texas has gone 836, 856, 922. In the last 2 years, 748 and 697. I'm willing to give several points of that to like, okay, Marcus Semien kind of sucks now. He's gotten old. Adolis Garcia getting old. Corey Seager hasn't been as healthy, whatever. But man, that's like a 200-point drop in that. It just seems like there's definitely something going on there. But the question for us is, can we be confident it'll happen again next year? I mean, you don't really want to bake that in because it could change. Like if it's just a door that's open, that can get closed any day. So what do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What about Kauffman? Did you make adjustments for Kauffman Stadium, the fences?
I did make adjustments for Kauffman Stadium. Things like that we can absolutely quantify, like fence distance. I do make adjustments for that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's worth moving Semien and Adolis Garcia up in the rankings a little bit because there's something going on here. I'm not going to say what it is. I don't know what it is, but it looks like something happened, and now they're out of that park. At the same time, though, they're another year older, and they have some degradation there too. And I don't know, tough things. But the better thing to do for the projection guys is if you don't know for sure, just kind of leave it alone. Don't start making guesses. So the main thing we're on, I'm a DFS guy. The reason I got into all of this is because I really like DFS. First question, like you've been in those streets a long time too, but it seems like it's more of a betting world now. Is in your mind, is there less interest in DFS? Is it harder to beat now, or is it because there's more sharp people? Do you have any takes on that?
DFS is not, I mean, if you ask any DFS player, and if you had asked them at any point over the last like 5 or 10 years, like everyone will always say that it wasn't what it used to be. Even if you asked the question 10 years ago, it wasn't what it used to be. So that's my answer. It wasn't what it used to, or it's not what it used to be. I still think there's plenty of interest in DFS. I still think there's plenty of fish out there. I don't think the edge is as strong as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
You told me that you knew about Coors Field before other people.
Yes.
That's crazy.
The first year I had the bat, I was just like chugging along with Coors Field, and like now, if someone's in Coors, you put the Dodgers in Coors Field or whatever, like everyone knows, like the Dodgers are going to be really good today. And like, it wasn't as well known back then. It was, you could just play your Coors guys and they wouldn't even be that owned by the field and you would just crush. It is not that obvious anymore. Edges are a little bit slimmer, but they're still there, I think.
And maybe even more so with the new Bad X pitcher projections, maybe we can get a leg up there.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
still
I'm hoping that's going
play?
to give us a nice edge this year.
You still play, all right?
Yeah, not
Okay.
to the extent that I used to. I used to play very heavily. Now
Yeah.
more of my bankroll and whatnot is going towards sports betting than it used to. Obviously, I didn't used to do it at all.
Right.
But yeah, I still play.
And you track everything. So follow Derek. It's Derek Carty. You probably already do. I don't think I'm introducing anybody to you, but maybe a few people out there. So you are you do a daily show, or at least you put out plays and you track everything. You track your results in a publicly available sheet, and it's pretty much profitable every year. But you're very honest with it, and you kind of have to be because you're being so transparent. Like, we're going to have losing weeks and months, but you've been profitable so far.
Overall, it's been very profitable. Like you said, I keep a Google sheet where I track every single bet that I've ever recommended publicly. You can see it in real time, throughout the year as I update it and whatnot. Yeah, there have been bad stretches for sure. There have been month-long stretches, 2-month-long stretches where I'm losing and people are like, what is going on? And I'm like, this is just how sports betting works.
Right.
It's called variance. Like, it happens. But over the long run, it's always been fantastic.
Is it like a chasing your, not chasing your tail? I don't know what the right analogy would be, but we noticed a couple of years ago here, I had a model, and it seemed like the books were, this is just an example, and then you can answer the question. Like, it looked like the books were having straight up bad lines on hitter strikeouts. So we would bet unders on hitter strikeouts. Do you know about this? We would bet under hitter strikeouts, like across the board, and they would smash. And then one day those lines were gone. Were you a part of that?
Oh, I was a part of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hitter strikeouts were very, very profitable, to the point where I think, smart people like myself, people who are using the bat, people who are using your projections, I think the books realized, hey, we're getting crushed on these.
Yeah.
We're just going to stop offering them. Because little by little, there used to be like 5 or 6 books that offered them, and little by little, they started going away. And now I think there's only like 1 or 2 books that offer them. And I think DraftKings added them back last year.
Only
but
overs.
You could only bet overs. You couldn't bet unders on them anymore.
I know.
So yeah.
So the question was, is the profitable way to find these things that the books are doing wrong and exploit it until it's gone, and then find the next thing? Is that kind of how it works, or has there been consistent markets where you can beat them?
It's a little of both. I mean, you can't just rely on finding some new huge edge that's going to be printing money the way hitter strikeouts was. You have to be playing the normal stuff, and you have to be able to do pretty well at it. But if you can identify those types of edges, that helps a lot. But really, it's just constantly adapting to what the market is going to give you. And if they're not giving us hitter strikeouts anymore, well, we got to find something else.
Have you ever made a home run bet over home runs?
Yeah, plenty of them.
Oh, you have some of those? Those aren't, it seems to me that the prices are always so bad, but you're saying that's not.
So they're bad if you want to bet on like Aaron Judge to hit a home run, or Kyle Schwarber to hit a home run. If you want to bet on Kyle Isbell to hit a home run, or like guys who are not good,
Tom Canzone.
Yeah, if you're betting on guys like that, you can find odds that are good. You're rarely betting the stars. You're betting the fringe guys that are in good matchups and that are priced like they always are. Like, that's kind of the formula, I would say.
The tweets that do the best for me on betting stuff is like, Aaron Judge is projected for 0.5 home runs today. That's what, I mean, it's like credit cards, right? The reason that smart people can use a credit card and get points and then get free stuff because of the points is because there are all these idiots racking up the interest. So the sports betting, like, people say that nobody can profit on it, and it's just not true because there are so many people doing this in such a dumb way.
Oh yeah.
That, so it's, I mean, morality, ethically, it seems like, I mean, I'm not hurting anybody, but you kind of need the idiots to lose or else, but that's that. Any Well, I guess so. First, I should have done this at the beginning. So if people want to follow your bets and stuff, it's not. It's on EV. What's the? Where do they go to buy this stuff?
Yeah, you can go to EV Analytics to buy not just picks. You get the access to the full projection system. You get projections for every player, every day, every market. There's like 20 different books that you can compare lines with. Helps you really easily identify the value. Yeah, that's at EV Analytics. And then publicly, I'll do shows. I don't have my schedule nailed down yet for this year, but I'll do shows and like written picks and that kind of stuff too.
Is it more profitable to get in early, like the previous night, or early in the morning, or not necessarily?
Yeah, it is, because the earlier you get in, the less time there is for the line to move, and the line is usually going to move in
Strongly.
The direction of the bad X is usually the direction that I see it move. So you want to get in earlier to get the best line possible, but it's tough, because that's like sports betting 101 is like, get in early, find the best line, shop around, and you're going to crush. Sports betting like 501 is like, you have to be careful doing that, because then the books realize that you're smart and then they start to limit.
Yeah. Right.
So like there's not like one like piece of advice that applies to everything. It's once you understand the basics of, okay, early is good, shopping around is good, price matters, then you kind of need to move on to like, okay, how do I make it so that I can continue betting and that books aren't going to limit me to 30 cents a bet?
Sounds like that's happened to you before. Yeah. That's the ultimate thing they have on you, is that if you're beating them too bad, they don't have to take your business, which I guess it's private business. They can do what they want. I guess it's not like, can't call it like unethical or immoral. It's just like they said that I heard a stat that says if you open an account on a sports betting account on a sports betting site, just before you place a bet, they can know. I think
it was in The Economist. Yeah.
They can know the lifetime value of your account within a 90% accuracy, based on things like, were you on a PC when you open the account? That would be bad for them. They like you on your phone. They look at, I guess, like what you click. Like if you go immediately to, let me bet Steelers -3, they're like, oh, okay, that's a fish. We like that. But if you go right to,
you go bet to hitter strikeouts, you're
or like the European women's tennis circuit or something, right? Like they know they're in trouble. So at the end of the day, like there are so many levels of this. I would never consider trying to be a professional gambler, because even if you do have the best, even if your projections are better than theirs, which we may both have some of that, they ultimately have the final authority. One thing I've done so far, we're a week into spring. I want to see what you think about this. I have been taking every spring training money line above +130, because to me, spring training games are basically coin flips. Like I got +190 on the Twins or something the other day. Like, have you ever considered that? Does that sound, am I crazy to think this could work?
I don't think you're crazy. Like it could definitely be a real thing. I've never looked into any spring training bets. I always just wait for the regular season.
Right.
But yeah, like you're not getting a full game out of anyone who's even starting in it. So it's just going to be a lot of minor leaguers against minor leaguers. I think ideally, if you can, you're going to quantify who everyone is and whatever. But I think as a rule of thumb, if you're just saying, okay, well, anyone who's a big underdog probably shouldn't be a big underdog. Yeah. I don't even think it would be that hard to figure that out. Like you could go back historically, you just have to find the lines and see if that's been profitable, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
My way overly simplistic research into it was, what was the Rockies spring training record last year? And they went 17-15. So if you bet them every time, you would have smashed. It's worked for a week. I'm going to keep doing it and just track it to see. And it makes sense, because the one thing you also have to understand is that the betting lines, they're not necessarily trying to say this is actually the odds of this outcome happening. They're just trying to keep the money more or less on both sides. So the biggest one so far in spring has been Skubal made a start. I think it was Skubal versus Mick Abel. And Skubal was a massive favorite, because probably people see Skubal, well, they know he's good, Tigers are going to win. But of course, he threw 2 innings, maybe
throw an inning or two. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, Twins plus 190, and that one worked out. Of course, they won't always. But if you can win, or the way I'm taking it, like I probably only need to win 40 to 45% of these games to come out ahead. So it's fun if nothing else. I'm not like staking my kids' chicken nuggets on it tonight or anything like that, but something to follow, see if it works. I guess that was it. So EV analytics will really get going. I mean, I'm going to be selling daily projections and tools and stuff. The thing I wanted to mention with the betting stuff is the proper way to find a good bet, right? Maybe I should let you tell us this, but the way I've found is that you compare so my model says there's an X% chance of this happening. The implied percent of happening from the sports book is this. What's the difference? Is that basically the best way to do it?
That's basically what you're looking for. You're looking for, okay, I think it's going to happen X% of the time. The sports book says it's going to happen Y% of the time. There's a big enough gap. And, over time, if your model is good enough, you wind up winning more than you lose.
And there's simple math to kind of equate that. So, I mean, it's no coincidence that sports like odds lines are strange, like minus 170. Like the average person doesn't understand what that is. So it helps a lot to convert it into an actual percent chance and then subtract. So that's what mine does. I will update that. But I would definitely say the BATX is the standard and you hooked me up, but I think I'm just going to pay for it this year, Derek. I'm not going to ask you for a handout. I'm going to pay for it. And I encourage everybody listening to do that. Go to EV Analytics. Probably not worth doing for a few weeks before the season gets going. But
it's available now, actually, and there's an early bird discount going on. So
okay.
if you're planning to get it, now is a better time than later.
What about DFS? Did the salaries and stuff go in there, or do you have to go to another site for that?
No, for DFS, you have to go over to Roto Grinders. Okay. It's a separate subscription, but it works with their lineup optimizer, their simulation tool, all that kind of cool stuff. So it just depends on what you're planning to use the projections for is where you want to get the subscription at.
Okay. It would be if you're a serious DFS player or better, like legitimately, it's a no-brainer. You can't win without projections, right? Like a lot of people like to poo-poo projections, but they're not perfect. But man, like, how can you do any of this without starting with projections at least? So
you have to. You're not making money at DFS, and you're not making money at sports betting if you aren't using projections to some degree, or you're like in the half of 1% of people that are able to, and that's about it. You have to.
Great. All right. Thanks, Derek. So go subscribe to him. Definitely give him a follow. He and I will hopefully talk again soon. We'll have a fun year, and that'll be it. Thanks, Derek. We'll talk to everybody later. Thanks for listening. Peace out.